Okay, so hello everybody. Welcome to a new Linio Talk. Today we have with us Fernando Varila, Fer, and he works as a community manager for the branding team here at Linio. And also, you know him because he is also the creator of several of our Lenny memes and emojis in our Slack. So yeah, Fernando, it's all yours.
Hey Juan, thanks for the presentation. Yeah, well, today we are going to talk about motion graphics, specifically about After Effects, which is an Adobe product. I don't know if you are familiar with Adobe or program from Adobe, but yeah, After Effects is one of the flagships programs from them, like Illustrator or Photoshop or Premiere. I don't know if you know them. Also, they recently acquired Figma, which is another tool of that corporation. But yeah, now that I have your attention, I wanted to talk about our Lord and Savior, the, oh man, the spaghetti, the flying spaghetti monster. I don't know if you know,
It failed a little bit.
you know this is a meme from all times, all internet. But yeah, I'm just kidding. Let's jump into the talk. As Juan said, I am Fernando. I am a graphic designer, but I work as a community manager and a content creator too here at Linio. This is my image from the LinkedIn reality, as I said there. Nowadays, I'm don't even look like that, but yeah, that's what when I used shirts, formal shirts to get a job, you know. But yeah, I want to start the talk with this meme because why not? Maybe you are familiar with it. I let you read it. Because it's something that resonates with me. I think it's fun because developers maybe have this share this meme as like we designers are offended with stealing graphics or techniques or maybe art. But yeah, as I want to show you this image, the one that I did for the cover of this talk, is using, for example, a FreePic background. FreePic is a website to download assets, graphic assets. I'm using some pirated fonts. For example, one of these fonts is Gotham, which is I'm not allowed to use. And also I'm using Midjourney to create this version of Lenny. So, you know, a lot of what we do as a designers is something that others did in the past, and we are like replicating and copying and making new things from that. Sometimes one could call that art and be offended with another one stealing it, but most of us are like fine with that. I mean, so yeah, let's keep on going. For those of you who don't know, what the fuck is After Effects? After Effects is a program made by Adobe, which is a giant corporation. It's mostly for doing visual effects for videos, but it can be used also to do other kind of stuff. For example, you can do live graphics for TV or streaming on like some platform, or you can do GIFs or images, or you can export animations to use on the web with After Effects. There's a lot of things you can do. It's a very complex program, so I'm going to continue because this is going to be longer. Why I chose After Effects? Because I hate Adobe a little. There's a lot of things to say about Adobe. For example, they have like a suite of a lot of stuff, and it's like difficult to get into because there's a lot of interfaces and complex stuff. And for example, things like the Acrobat reader, like this is a screenshot from my PC, from my Mac, that is Acrobat weighs 2 gigabytes. Like it's a PDF reader, what the fuck. And of course, it uses a lot of cache. This is this morning screenshot too, that I erased 30 gigabytes from the cache that I was using from yesterday only. Also, After Effects and a lot of Adobe products tend to crash a lot. I lost a lot of time. I lost my work. The programs crashed. And also things like Adobe or Photoshop cost $20 a month. They are like subscription based since I think a decade ago. You cannot purchase the program and get it and have it. You have to pay the monthly subscribing fee. And it's expensive, you know, it's not the best. It's not the most accessible program. It's not the best tool. It's not open source, you know, it's a lot of cons. But I honestly use Adobe because I know it. I work with Adobe products for a decade, and I'm familiar with that, and so I'm talking about it. Also, this is one of the best tools to create visual effects. It's very versatile, complex, and for me, it's really fun. I use it like as a hobby sometimes. Also, Adobe has a great ecosystem of programs that work in sync, and this workflow is very important for doing a lot of stuff. Of course, there are numerous other solutions. Like I said there, and in the last slide, I'm going to link some of the solutions. I mean, there's a lot of media edition tools, and you as developers know a lot too. But yeah, I will keep on going. I made an index. If you want to see the slide, it's going to be uploaded in our shared drive in the Lenio Labs general folder. So if you want to see the links and references, which is in the last slide, it's all there. So let's dive in. I'm going to be quick and trying to show the maximum amount of examples that I did. I'm going to jump right into it because maybe this is going to take us long. Adobe Workflow is the thing that I use most. For example, here is the most common stack, if you can call it, for doing things with After Effects. Premiere is the first one. It's useful to edit videos. Illustrator is useful to edit vectors. Photoshop, you know it. And Media Encoder, the last one, is to render videos in formats and a lot of stuff. These are interchangeable. You can do a lot of stuff in sync with those. Premiere can do video editing. It's the best thing for video editing, but After Effects also can do video editing, but it's not recommended for that. It's better for visual graphics. So I'm going to start with the basics, and I'm going to jump into After Effects right in. So I have I made some things here, so I can show it to you. I hope you can see it. As you can see, this is like a really complex interface. But yeah, for example, one of the things that I want to talk about is like, what is the artboard? What is the composition? You work with like compositions, what is called here. If you do a first composition, you're gonna pick up like a resolution, frame rate. You can do like 60 FPS if you want. If that's frames per second, you're going to have lots of images if you choose 60. 25 is good. So yeah, well, you have the duration, everything. You create a composition and you start working with the composition. For example, I have this composition that is like a 16:9 aspect ratio. And I have here like a classic old Simpsons meme. For example, you can do, I'm going to talk about the basics here. So one of the things that Adobe After Effects uses for backgrounds are solids, which are like these things. You create a solid and it is a background that you create. Of course, these are your layers. You can put it, mix it, and yeah, well, every layer has its properties. For example, if I want to talk about this GIF about Abe Simpson, you have position, you have scale, you have rotation, you have opacity, you know, a lot of things to work with. Most of them, you have to use this stopwatch, what that is called, that when you press it, it creates a keyframe. A keyframe is like a node, if you like, and it's like a point in time when you say this is the attribute in this second that I'm going to use. And for example, I say at the first second, this is the position, and the second, the position is going to be this. And so the animation that you did is like that movement. So mostly when you are working with After Effects, you are working with keyframes. There's a lot of stuff you can do. I'm going to minimize this Zoom interface because it's molesting me. There's a lot of handy tools to work with Adobe. For example, if you have this like here, you can align it. Align is one tool that is present in most of Adobe products, and it's very useful. You can align things. Most of the UX designers will know this from Figma because Figma uses the same things. Other thing that Adobe uses are shapes, shape layers. You can do all kind of shapes, you know, like with the circular curves, or if you like, you can do squares or well, whatever. You know, there's a lot of things to work with. Besides keyframes, which are these things that I told you before, you can also work with objects parenting with each other, like a child or a father of another one. For example, I have a Lenny here, and I parent that with the grandpa, and I can move both. If I move grandpa, I will move Lenny too. So most of the things that I animate on one of the objects, I could inherit into the other one. Also, there's a lot of masks you can do. You know, masking is another craft of designers that I use a lot. And they are like patches for everything. And sometimes there are like a tool to do a great animation. Also, you can work with, with these blending modes, which are another thing that is present on CSS, for example, that you can do blending modes between layers. You know, for example, I'm going to darken this Lenny, and it's going to use the background and everything. But yeah, that's the basics. I think I covered some of the most important things. There's a lot of stuff, so I don't want to talk about everything. But let's talk about precompositions. Precompositions are like nesting objects. For example, I have here this boring animation, and I want to move them like everything to the right. But as they have their own niche keyframes, for example, here are positions keyframes, and here too. If I do this and I move them all to here, I will add positions, for example, like here, and things are going to start brokening. So one of the things that I can do also to group stuff is to pre-compose. Pre-composing is like doing a composition and inside another composition. And what you can do with this is duplicate it and work it with as a group. For example, I can add most of the transforming properties to these things, and I know, play with that in many ways. That's really fun. So yeah, next is shape animation. I'm going to start talking about shape animation, and we're going to see some animations. For example, here I have like a cursed star, like I made with notes, and this star has I animated its path. You know, the path of the star are all these nodes, and the first position is here, and when you arrive to the first second, all these nodes are going all places. I can, for example, tweak this and, I don't know, put it like this, and what it's going to do is broke the star in pieces, you know. That's one of the things that they use a lot for animation, frame by frame animation, which is used a lot in character animation and things that require a lot of tweaking and have a lot of objects. It's really difficult to do, and it's not the recommended things. Well, for example, one of the things that Adobe has is a lot of automated things. For example, automated, I know. This is a star, which is one of the objects here that you can use as a shape. And you can, for example, tweak the points of the star. Like the least point of the star is going to be 3 because 2 is going to be a rectangle, which is another one of those shapes. So you can do I start with a lot of points, and then I animated these points of the star going from 3 to like 72, and the animation is showing like that, like a circle that it's filling. This is important to consider that there are vectors, like vectors in the Adobe. I don't know how to define them, because vectors in programming are other stuff too, and it's difficult to say. But the important thing to mention is that they are not pixels. They are not like images like the one here that if I, with the Abe Simpson, if I, for example, scale this, it's going to lose its quality. But with vectors like this, you don't lose quality because, yeah, they are vectors. As one thing that I didn't show of blending options here is, for example, I didn't have a Lenny snow Christmas Lenny here, and I put on top a video with a black background of a snow. These are common videos on YouTube. One of the things, easy things that you can do with this is use blending mode, like, for example, a screen, and you're going to have an easy snow there. Of course, there's a lot of effects that you can do with chroma keys, which is the green screen that a lot of people use. But that's another topic, and it's very complex, so we are not going to touch it. I forgot to tell you about this thing that I did, so I was going back. So keep ongoing. The second example that I have here for the shape animations are these like circles. One of the things that you can do easily is like put a wiggle effect on a circle, and it's going to do this weird stuff. You can trick the wiggle effect here, and I don't know, the seconds which are like changing, or the details, or the size of the things is very complex. Also, for example, one of the other effects that you can use on shapes, which is really, I like it a lot, for lines is this thing called trim paths. That what you can do with this is like fill a line, which sometimes for arrows is useful. I tried to do here a loading screen, but it's like not the best. But yeah, it's just for showing. But yeah, for example, here I have another line that is filling, like it's going from right to left, left to right, sorry. And it has a dashed line. And on top of that, there's a circle using one of the same line as a path to follow. This is very easy. You only need to take the circle, the ellipse here, and add the path on top of that. Sorry if I'm mixing a lot of stuff because this is filled with examples. But yeah, the thing that you can do is take this path and put it on the ellipse, like pasting. Pasting it. I paste an ellipse inside an ellipse. Well, that's not the thing that I wanted to do, but yeah, well, you get the point. That's another arrow. That's an arrow. Sorry, animation. That this is using trim paths. Sorry, I had a program to show you the shortcuts, the keyboard shortcuts that I'm using, but I forgot to turn it on, so I'm not going to show you the buttons that I'm pressing. But yeah, one of the things that you do with trim paths is animate the line. For example, here I do this. I change this thing, which is the start and the end of the path, and it's going to be to fill you can do it easily. For example, if I do like a line, where is my line? Oh man, that's inside another path. I'm going to create a new shape if I can. I think yeah, right. You create a shape, you do a line. How can I change? I don't know if you can see the zoom interface here is very
no, we cannot see it. It's only for you. That
okay, I'm moving it because it's like in the middle of everything. Well, for example, to do a trim path, you select this and choose trim paths. This is when you add here, you have all the effects that you can put on a shape. For example, let's pick trim paths. Trim paths, if you select one point and then another, what you do is do this, and what it will show is this line like erasing. You can change it, for example, reverse the keyframes and like have it like that. You can do a lot of stuff with that. It's really useful. For example, here in these arrows, I'm like putting one on top of each other. As you can see, there's a white and a yellow line. And when they go, there's like that effect of the white line. It's cool. Well, another thing that you can do with shapes is use repeaters. Repeaters is one of these effects that is going to give you a lot of tweaks. For example, here I have the number of copies, which I'm using with these circles. This is only a circle that is copied on top of each other of the same object. And you can offset it like like this, and you can change the scale, the variation, the rotation, the position. You can do a lot of stuff. If I show you this, it's like making a full background, if you like. I had it like this, and you do this like hypnotizing pattern. Another example here with yellow and repetition is doing this, or for example, doing, I think it's this. This was like a pattern filling, like maybe a transition you can use. And it's only using the same repeater that is here, inside of this. And of course, you can tweak it and it will move and do stuff and change a lot. There's a little bit of math in here, because if you, for example, change the position or the anchor point, things are going to be very chaotic. Like, I don't know what I did there. So yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with repetitions like this. Well, I have a map here because I wanted to show you what you can do with 3D objects. In this talk, I'm mostly talking about 2D objects, because 3D is another set of things. You can do a lot of tweaking with 3D in After Effects, but After Effects mostly combines with Blender or Cinema 4D to do a lot of stuff and puts visual effects on top of those 3D objects. So most of what I'm showing here is 2D, but you can make objects 3D. Like, for example, I made it with this button here, make a 3D layer. And what a 3D layer can let you do is use the X position, the C position, like the deep, the profound, the position of an object. And of course, you can rotate it in the various axes that you can see, like it's a sheet of paper rotating in some place. And you can do stuff like, for example, zooming like this and doing maybe that kind of stuff for a video. Like, it's going to be, well, sorry. But yeah, you get the point. There's a lot of better examples to do with maps and everything. I just picked a map on Google and put it here and like do a 3D rotation. But yeah, you can get the point. I hope. Keep going. Next is going to be text animation. Text animation is like shape animation, but with text. Text on After Effects. You can write whatever you want and put some animation on top of it, like we did with shapes. For example, you can animate the tracking of the letters, and they're going to like jump like that. So if you start at 0 and at 1 second you say like open this, it's going to do that in an animation. So that's not very interesting, but if you combine a lot of these effects, you're going to have a good, great, interesting stuff, you know. For example, what I have here, just a layer. For example, here I'm showing two texts that are behind a shape that it has a fill, I mean. And what they are doing is like moving. I animated the position of them. Like this one is beneath. I'm sorry, I don't know the word, but and it's moving to the right to show to escape from the shape that is blocking it. And you can do this to do a lot of stuff in text. For example, in an interview, you can show the name of the guy, of the people, the person that is interviewed, and it could appear like this. It's very basic, this example, but you get the point, I hope, again. Of course, these fields are using one thing that is called math, which is using only the alpha channel of the shape. It's not using the color because, for example, here the color is not important. I can do this shape color of whatever. Of course, I could do the same color of the background, but here I'm using something that is called that uses math, which is using the block of color of a value of a shape to do a mask or something like that. You can invert the, it's like 2 layers are, sorry, I was looking at the time because I have to show you a lot more. But yeah, another thing that you can do is like write this, like this thing. Writing uses one of the other effects of the text layers that uses position. And what you see here is that there's like a picker there, like showing, like passing from character from character, and I'm animating the opacity of those. So with an offset, you can like simulate this writing effect, like something like that. It's useful to show text to some text that you need to show some text and you animate it like this. Another kind of thing that you can do is animate the position, but instead of doing this horizontal stuff, you can do it like changing the position vertically and do something like that. This is using a lot of selectors here, a combination of those, because it's like jumping on top, then going back and bouncing a little bit. It's not difficult to make because they are like one stacked and move a bit forward in time. So if you can do this simulation of words, but it's really nice to, for example, present a video. Not that I use it here in my presentation. Another one is like doing like this and using a little bit of rotation, like these letters are tweaked to the side, and when they jump on top, when they come on top, they straighten. And another thing that you can do with text animation is text along a path. For example, this that is not only in a circle, also it's moving, and the other one that is following a line. This is following this line. It's very easy to do. If I show you, I'm going to lose time. Sorry. So can we jump in the next thing? I'm going to talk about effects. Effects are a lot of things. You have here all these effects. These have like a lot of stuff to do, and you can mix it in I don't know, infinity kind of ways. But for example, one of the things that I'm showing here is, I don't know why I put this logo here. It's this using some effects. Yeah, it has a, well, it has a drop shadow animated, but like I did the background very dark, and the drop shadow is not showing, so that you can do this stuff. It's very like basic or elemental, but yeah, you can do an animation of a drop shadow, like changing the angle, changing the softness, changing the distance from the object. Also, what you can do is like make things glow. For example, this is using the first one, the Lenio logo was using drop shadow effect. You can say drop shadow and throw it like on top of it and tweak it like here. But this is, for example, it's called light sweep. What light sweep do is like you start on one point with a light and you end in another point, and there's like a sweep of lights that you can tweak, of course, and do stuff and change the direction, and it will do this like shiny stuff to, I don't know, present a logo, for example. This is our logo from Layoutit. I don't know if you're familiar with the tool. Yeah, I'm going to jump again into the dark background because this is going to be nicer with black background. This is a glow. This is using glow radius, another effect that makes a glow, and you animate the glow. The glow radius, for example, here I can like tweak it like that, and this thing is glowing and then going back to normal. Another stuff here is this could be considered a text animation, but it's more like an effect where I draw this Lenio Talk, for example. This is our Lenio Talk font, and I draw it like with this text, and I use a stroke. Basically, this is an effect that is letting you do a stroke on a pad. It's the same that if you do a line and you put a stroke like number 20, but what you can do with the effect is animate the stroke. So what I am doing here is like using the pad to show show the font that is that I'm drawing, for example, because this is using a mask. This line is working like a mask. So what you can do with this is like animate like that. For example, maybe this is not the best font to show it because there are handwritten fonts that are better for these kind of effects, but I think it looks pretty cool. And it's very easy. I mean, it has 2 keyframes and it's a very, very rustic kind of line that I draw there. And then I have a Lenny here. This is more complex maybe, but what you can do with a Lenny, for example, let me bring a Lenny here and I'll show you how I did this because it's very simple. You can use this tool that is called Pin Puppet. It's used a lot for character animation. And you, for example, you did some nodes like these ones. Some are referenced, like I want these 3 to be to stay there and these ones to change. So what I did here, if you see these keyframes, when I added all these nodes, they are keyframe here, and I, for example, go further in time, and I can move this. Sorry, I can move each one of the nodes. And basically, it's like doing a mesh transformation, and it's pretty nice. It's very simple. You can, for example, pick all these keyframes and paste it and do like a loop, if you like, and you get a Lenny dancing. Let's see how it was the example that I used. It was worse. And another thing that you can do, for example, After Effects can work with cameras as it works like in a 2D space. You can use a camera to like fake fake like there's something behind another thing, like this Lenny there's two Lennys here. One, they are both dancing, and one is in the background, and one is on front. And all that I did is pick the camera, is like an object that you make like this. For example, you do a shape layer, you do a background, you can make a camera, which is here, and it will show this. There's a lot of things to tweak. For example, you can tweak the millimeters of the lens of the camera to show, or the angle of view. That's, well, a lot of stuff. But one of the things that you can do, that's a lot of, for example, frame animations, or like if you want to show an UI, for example, this Lenny could be a UI, and the Lenny on the background could be another like window, and you can do this like effect of focusing on one and the other and going back and forth, which kind of looks cool. So yeah, keep on going. There's a little trick that is called easing in After Effects. Easing, like the easy. Easing basically is a trick that, for example, I have here a cube moving, like a square, sorry, moving from left to right, like very boring. But if you, for example, click here and go to Keyframe Assistant and put one of these easy eases, you can start to tweak the velocity of the movement. And it will show better in this thing that is called the graph editor. For example, I'm using the same time and keyframes, but I'm easing the keyframes, so the movement is like a lot smoother, like more dynamic. If you see, this is very boring, and this is a lot better, because what I do here is you have this graph, which is measuring velocity in the y-axis, and in the x-axis is the time, and it's like starting slow and gaining speed, a lot of speed, and then slowing down until the end. If you can see, it is like moving fast when it's in the middle of the trajectory. And if you move this, for example, you can do start really slow and end really fast, for example, or in reverse, start fast and stop slowly. And those kind of things can make a lot of difference when you are like doing motion. For example, see here, there are the comparison of the two same things, but one on top of each other, and one is moving like the cool, this is the cool, and the other is like very boring. What I have here. Yeah, that's another example. The one on top is moving slow at the start, and the one on the bottom is moving fast at the start and slowing at the end. These are 1 second movements, so I'm trying to show it to you, but yeah, I think you get the point of easing. I'm going to continue, and I'm going to talk about tracking. This is a little bit more complex. Maybe you can see this a lot on GIFs and memes on the internet, which like use some footage or something and puts text on top of that, and the text moves along the character of the thing. I'm sorry, I have some chats, but I don't know if I have questions. Maybe I will address them at the end of the talk. But yeah, for example, here I did I made this word hello move alongside the Ralph's hand, or Rafa, if you like. What is using here is a track motion. This is one of the like powerful things of After Effects, that you select. Sorry, I'm going to take a Rafa from here, if I found it. And at that Rafa, I'm going to put it a track motion. And a track motion is going to use some point of Rafa to track the movement of that thing. Rafa is not moving, it's only his hand moving, right? So what we do here is like saying track this hand and apply. And then what After Effects did is like create position keyframes for like the movement of the hand, you know? And what you can do is use like a text like this without the things and parent it to the Rafa movement, and it will, well, I don't know where is my hello world. I lost it. But yeah, you get the point. Well, I lost my word. Where's hello? Anyways, another thing that you can do besides tracking movement is stabilizing video. Maybe this is going to take a while to load, but I have a video here. Sorry, I'm in this. I was inside another layer. This is a man's moving. And what I did here is use all the motion of this guy to stabilize the movement, because the video was like, I don't know if I have here. It's a slow motion, yeah, but you have like these jumps on the screen, like it's not completely stabilized. So you can do that on After Effects, stabilized. I used like one of like his shoulder, and you can see that it's really like interesting because it's like creating an effect that is like based on his shoulder. I mean, it's not perfect because you have to tweak it. After Effects created a lot of keyframes to do that, but yeah, that's one of the things that you can do. And now maybe more for the developers. Here I'm going to talk about expressions. Sorry, expressions are what After Effects call this kind of maths or programming. Sometimes they use something similar to JavaScript. I don't know if it's JavaScript because I'm not familiar with JavaScript. But for example, here I'm doing a blink expression, which is this, like I'm simulating this, like the bar at the end of a text when you are writing. And what a blink expression will do is like blink. And that's the same thing that we do on Leño Labs logo with the underscore. And you do that with, sorry, with math. Like, for example, one of the, here, what a blink expression is doing is using the opacity and adding, I think I could show you, I could zoom into this. Well, it's very, very far. But yeah, using a blink rate, for example, I could say 100 and it's going to blink like really fast. You see that? So yeah, it's doing a basic function, I think, to do a blink and use the property of opacity. And if you see here, it's going from 100 to 0, like jumping 100, 0, 100, 0, like with a function. You don't have to use keyframes in this case. Another thing you can do is, for example, wiggle. Wiggle is like moving, like shaking, something like that. This is a very subtle wiggle. And the wiggle is like that, simple wiggle. And you have like an amplitude and a duration, something like that. That's the the parameters, and the thing is doing this kind of movement. And I can do more wiggle, and it's going to like start to become crazy. And what I have here, well, I don't know. Another thing that you can do with expressions is, for example, do a counter, a number counter. For example, we can start from 0 and jump into like 400, 500, 700 with some easy tools. Here we are using an effect that is called a slider control, which let me like pick a number and animate like from 0 to 700. And it's going to do this animation that is passing one by one all the numbers. Not one by one, because no, it doesn't have the right amount of frames to do it. So it's jumping like 30, 50, 20 numbers. But yeah, the other thing that you can do is do something similar, but with text and randomizing the text. Here, for example, is forming the word another random text and coming from total chaos, and it's using one of the text effects, like I show you, like the spacing of the tracking of the letters when you span the text, or when you are creating this position of letters that are moving. You can also do character offset or character value that you will create this character offset that is like picking random numbers, and you can tweak a lot of this stuff. You can use characters. You can, for example, say use full Unicode, and we'll go with symbols, writing whatever. And yeah, I have here. This is another kind of I found looking to show you some stuff doing equations or maths. I found a really old blog that is called Motion Script. I'm going to show you because it's like this. It looks like this. It's made in 2006, 2008. I don't know. But it's a blog from this guy called Dan Ebert, which made a lot of these expressions, and it had a blog called Motion Script, which is linked in the last slide of this this slideshow, this presentation. And I picked some of his expressions, and you can do, for example, things like this. If you animate the position, I think it's here. Sorry, here. This is using. Hey, I lost it. Maybe it's here. Sorry, as you can see, well, this is a pendulum, for example, and it uses rotation. It uses the two objects, like one parent to the other. The rectangle is the father, and the circle is like related to that. And this is rotating from this point and using basically this velocity, amplitude, and decay, and this other thing that I couldn't explain if I can. And basically it broke. Oh man. Well, it was doing a pendulum movement, very lovely. But now I like did something and I broke it. Maybe we can have it again. Yeah, there you have this pendulum movement. It's very, if you're trying to do this like manually, it's going to be a pain in the ass. But with this simple math, with these guys that can do this kind of tricks is like awesome, you know, because that's pendulum movement pretty loyal to physics. I think I like it a lot. I mean, and it's using two, like a circle and a rectangle, nothing else. And it was doing a bounce, but I think I like erased that. Basically, what was doing. I pick that and I say to the scale property. So we are going to the scale property, and with this thing we can paste the same thing, and it's going to bounce, like do this bounce. It's kind of funny. It's like a gelatina, like gum. Maybe you can fake something with this. But yeah, as I was opening another program there. Let me keep on the talk. Another thing that you can do with JavaScript or JSX is, for example, I have here a very simple animation made with something similar to JavaScript. I don't know if you can read it or if you can see it, but it's creating a composition and saying what's the resolution of the composition, and then creating a layer that adds a solid, which is a rectangle with these pixels, like 50 by 50, and these colors, which is yellow and red and 0 from blue. So it's yellow. And then it's creating a mask inside of it and creating position keyframes to animate it. This is, I think, very similar to JavaScript, but yeah, you let me know. But one of the things you can do with this is go to After Effects file, and here you can run scripts. This is saved as a JSX format, and what it will do is create a composition with this animation. Very simple. But it was done in a text editor. I mean, yeah, this is maybe complex for most of you, but with these things, you can do a lot of live editing of graphics and automate a lot of stuff. It's very powerful. And maybe it's interesting for some of you. Another thing that you can do with Mats is export animations. For example, I exported these animations with a plugin called Lottie Files. Some of you maybe know them. Is this thing that you start the plugin and it lets you choose the composition and export some of your animations. And what you can do with that is grab a JSON file. For example, this is my JSON file. I think. Sorry, I don't open Visual Studio because it's going to be so long. But yeah, for example, I use this web that is called Drawer Design, and then I uploaded the JSON, and it's showing me the animation here. So this is like, I think 4 kilobytes. So you can put this JSON animation on the web, and it's going to be there like this, showing really good. I mean, it's a simple example, but if you manage to get something better, you can make an animation lightweight for the web and maybe show some great stuff. But yeah, I'm like, I passed the hour of the talk, and I think I finished. I showed everything that I wanted to show. I couldn't do most of the examples, like try to do it live, but I tried to show as much as I can, as I could.
Fair, if I can speak for the audience, I think it was fun seeing all that you shared. Yeah, I don't know how many things are left to show. Do you have?
Oh no, I showed everything. The only thing that I couldn't do is like do it by myself, like
Okay.
showing how it's done, like step by step, because
Yeah.
I have a lot of examples, and I had to remove a lot of things too, because there's a lot of stuff here in After Effects.
Yeah, it's a pretty complex software. Maybe we can jump straight to the questions if anybody has any questions.
Of course.
When you're referring to the messages in the chat, we only had just some encouraging messages, but any questions at the moment, at least.
Nice, thanks for all the amazing comments.
Do we have anybody with a question? You can unmute yourself and ask, or otherwise you can ask through the chat. We have a question from Juan Spech saying, has AI affected the way these kind of tasks are carried out yet or not?
Yeah, well, I don't know if AI, but After Effects is like a lot of craft, like handcraft. A lot of these things you can do it like more automated ways with other tools. Maybe you wouldn't call it AI. For example, I don't know if you know the tool, the app called CapCut, which is available for a lot of mobile, and I think it's also used for desktop computers. CapCut does a lot of transitions. It can do, for example, closed captions like subtitles automatically, and those things in some way were like a manual thing that you